Hello, hello, name's Annan. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today we're going to be playing yet another special build in Wizard of Legend, and today's one is going to be quite a wrap-up. It's going to be very, very fast. Probably the run is actually going to be shorter than the explanation part, even though I don't really have that much to explain. But nonetheless, today's run modifier will absolutely demolish everything in the Chaos Trials, including us, the player, if we ever end up screwing up. But first of all, what do I mean by special run? Well, we're going to be starting things off with two starter relics, the second of which will be a curse relic, a run modifier if you will, from outside of the game. You can purchase up to one of these in the lobby before actually entering your run. That also means, if you were to randomize a run, you would only know in hindsight whether your run modifier choice was foolish or not. As it is a curse relic, it cannot be discarded by any means, neither by you, nor enemies, nor anybody else for that matter. So, all that having been said, I'd say let's get right into it. Today's build is called Fans of Glass. We are going to be turning ourselves into a glass cannon, or rather, a glass cannon shooting glass fans. Glass cannon, in case you've never heard of it, is a term, a gaming term I believe, referring to kind of a mage build, a very heavy burst build, so we're going to be dealing a boatload of damage, essentially killing everything in one hit, but also we are going to become so incredibly squishy, regardless of our current HP count, that we will also be killed in one hit. So it's really just about who hits whom first, and of course we're going to be trying to be on the tipped side of the scale at any given point. So, without further ado, I'd say let's get right into the build. However, today's build, unlike last week's, we will present in traditional order, as this is a thematically well put together build that functions independently from the run modifier. So let's get right into it. Starting things off, of course, with our rope, which is a bit of an odd pick. It's gonna be the shift rope. What? Well, as I just explained, my my friend, the shift rope is going to be quite necessary, as not only will I be killing everything in one hit, or I will at least try to do so, but also will everything kill me instead. So I desperately need some forced survivability. Armor won't cut it. It won't do the job. It won't get it done whatsoever today. We absolutely need the shift rope. There is no other viable option here at all. The only next best pick, which is like 1,000 levels below the shift rope to me personally, the only one that would be remotely worth taking into consideration would be the tempo rope, but only for the cooldown reduction. I don't care about run speed. It's either cooldown reduction or it's evasion. Pick your poison. I highly recommend evasion instead of cooldown reduction, but if you feel a lot more comfortable with the cooldown reduction, like I usually would, I know it's a bit of a weird pick for me to run the shift rope instead of my favorite. Just go for it. Go for whatever you feel like. So shift rope grants us 10% evade chance. Evasion means that if this actually ends up proccing on a hit, hitting you on an individual hit, the hit's damage dealt will be negated entirely. You won't be stun locked. You won't lose signature or any of the effects that come with being damaged. Instead, you will evade the entirety of the attack and all of its consequences, which is fantastic. However, there are only a handful of items and tools, I should rather say, in this game that can grant you evasion. So evasion is very hard to come by, it's very hard to stack. You need a particular pool of cursed relics additionally. Those are usually the strongest evasion items. The robe is already pretty darn good. We're going to try and get it upgraded to, I believe, 15% evade chance, which is also not a whole lot. That's roughly once every 7.5 hits or so, right? I would guess. I don't know. I'm not good at math here whatsoever. But we're gonna need it. We are really gonna be relying on this evade chance to proc eventually. Hopefully. Even though it's just 10%, this 10% could be the difference. It could pose a difference between a run win and a run loss, or rather instantaneous death or a second chance of actually trying to bring the whole thing home. Additionally, it increases our critical strike chance by 5%, but similarly to the last video, we really do not care about any additional stats, we just want evasion. That's typically why you would pick this Robe in the first place. It's not for the mere 5% crit chance, which is just tiny compared to our Robe anyway. It's just and only for the color and the evasion. I like the color. Color is neat. Let's move on to our first starter relic. It's also going to be a defensive item, and it's very, very strong. A very unusual pick if you don't take into consideration that today's build will be modified. If I told you that I'm playing with this as my starter relic in a regular Chaos Trial run, you would look at me in disgust and confusion, probably. It's gonna be Ella's Glass Kite. A very long description. What it essentially says is that you get 5 hits, 5 times that you can be hit over the course of the entirety of your run. And all of the damage taken then and very shortly after is entirely negated. Similarly to evading it, it doesn't count as evasion, it counts as being blocked or guarded. There are, again, a handful of effects that can do that in the game. For example, all of the gloves can block damage, even though it's very hard. And then one of the painting pieces, the earth piece, can actually do it too. Blocked is just another form of evasion. It doesn't contribute to items like the covert ops mask. That's why I am explicitly stating here that it is not in fact evasion, it is simply blocking the damage. So the damage is blocked, then and like 2 seconds afterwards, so this does grant you a significant uptime of iframes after being hit, of literal invulnerability. But as soon as these 5 charges are used up, this item is destroyed permanently. And when you drop it by accident or by picking up an adorable mimic, for example, it is therefore dropped, therefore destroyed, and not consumed or anything. You can't sell it, therefore. The second you drop it, the drop essentially happens before the selling action or the consumption action or whatever, and then it's just gone forever. You don't get any bonuses for any of it. So you cannot just proc all of these 5 charges immediately after one another. That's why there are iframes. You can essentially abuse this as 5 free Kasim's Airy Cloak procs, which in a regular run is not a whole lot. You should expect to be hit pretty much all the time, like at least 2 or 3 times per stage after, let's be generous, after say 1-3 or 1-boss. So everything past 2-1 should be hitting you somewhat regularly every now and then. Therefore, Glass Kite is just way more useless in a regular run. But still, against bosses, this is fantastic. As you get iframes, you can be hit a lot of times, you can be hyper aggressive, and you don't have to care at all about losing signature from a tattered scroll. You don't have to care about being stun locked or being cancelled while you're in the middle of an ability. You can just go for it, dude. And that's so incredibly good late game when it actually matters. For us, this is gonna be a significant upgrade for this entire run. It's gonna hopefully last for the entirety of the run, because if not, we might be in trouble. What this means is that we can be hit 5 times minimum, right? Keep in mind there's also iframes. So we can be hit potentially about like 20 times with this. Depends when we actually proc it, in the middle of what attack. Take it, for example, you proc this in the middle of a Shu ultimate. You will probably be tanking 2 of the strikes, right? And all of the subsequent strikes of those 2 strikes. So that's a bunch of free hits of extra health, if you will. Think of it as a classic sort of, you have 3 lives type of situation. 3 lives, standing for 3 hits. You can be hit 3 times and then you're dead. It's game over. Now this raises our, we can be hit once, plus we have a 10% chance to evade any hit, to a whopping, we can be hit 6 times. Or rather, 5 times, because on the 6th hit, we would actually die. Which is fantastic. I really, really, really like it a lot. Let's move on to the Arcana, though. Now, this is something a little more generic. You're not actually going to be able to deduct our run modifier just looking at these Arcana. However, I feel like these Arcana just kind of fit. I do like it. I do like the idea. Of course, there are plenty of other builds that you could build, but I decided to go for a fan shape or cone shape, cone ability themed type of room clear build, I suppose. As I will literally be killing everything in one hit, I might as well just use abilities that hit an entire room worth of enemies that are not super hard to use or anything, that can be used effectively into mini-bosses as well to clear out the entire stage. Of course, this is a little bit broken, but we will try to compensate for that in a minute. Just give it a minute, okay? Starting with our basic here, it's going to be Flame Strike, the only kind of out-of-pocket ability of this build, I'd say. This is a charged ability, and therefore it is automatically much more risky to use than a non-charged ability, as I have to sit down and wait for this ability to charge before it actually kicks into effect. Usually charged abilities have a rhythm of 1, 2, 3. The third strike is usually a large strike, the charged strike with an extra effect, double the damage, the very minimum, and then usually like a status effect, for example, or with a greater range, greater width. It is like, things are like that, absolutely, in this case, but we don't typically want to land the charge, as we don't really gain any benefit from it. In fact, this only assures a downside where we have to literally sit still and wait for the ability to charge for no upside at all, except the third strike of this ability is actually a lot larger. This is, by the way, also a melee ability I feel like mentioning, even though it's not going to be very important. Looks like so. Now, as you can tell, the third strike seems a lot fatter, a lot larger, quite frankly, and when enhanced, it will also destroy enemy projectiles and burn enemies, which we both don't really care a lot about. I just felt like this is a very appropriate wave clearing tool when all of our other abilities are on cooldown. This has quite the width. It's essentially another fanning or cleaving ability, which I do like, and that's the only reason that I'm really running this. I don't care about the enhanced version, I just want a wide ability. It doesn't have to have a long range either, I just need something to clear enemies in a roughly 180-degree angle around my character, which is neat. I do like that a lot. Moving on to our dash, the first of 3 fan abilities. Frost Wing. I know, it's not technically a traditional fanning ability, I suppose, because you dash forth, and this shoots a bunch of ice fans, a bunch of small icicles flying out in a cone shape behind you, not in front of you. So if I were to use it like this against this wall, I could essentially use it as a fanning room clear ability, like so. Now, these will deal a hefty chunk of damage, even without a run modifier, and freeze enemies, which is nice. Nothing will ever survive, but it's nice nonetheless, and it fits the theme. Now, it's quite a difficult ability to hit consistently, especially the unenhanced version. I would have to be a perfect distance away and just calculate everything in my head, how to hit all of these 4 icicles. Whenever an icicle hits an enemy, it will burst. It will essentially pop in their face, right? Like so. I believe I still managed missing one there. It is possible hitting all of these, if I recall correctly. Yeah, like so. But it's very, very, very hard. As this shoots out a bunch of stuff behind you at a quite wide angle, as you can tell, this is really not that easy to hit consistently. But it is quite a great dash when you're just dashing around and you're minding your own business. You don't really pay attention. You don't try to actually actively hit a dash. It just flies somewhere into multiple directions and boom, you just killed something right away. That's what it's good for, pretty much summing up all of the fan strengths and weaknesses. It's not very accurate, but broadly, if you just fire into a room, like a nail grenade, I believe they're called, or nail bomb, you just hope to hit something, anything at all. Any hit with this is a certified W. It's great. I do like the enhancement here a lot. It's very, very powerful. It unleashes additional feathers. So I believe instead of these 4, you have 7 or 8 shooting out, which is fantastic. I love that. It's very, very good too. You definitely want to get that enhancement as soon as humanly possible, because you can pretty much scratch your basic enhancement anyway. So just instead enhance your dash. I know it's very weird stuff. Just just these words coming out of my mouth, like shift rope, run a shift rope, don't enhance flame strike, enhance dash over basic, and run Ella's glass kite as a starter relic. All of these words, these phrases are just so weird. My brain is just kind of melting hearing all that from me being used to playing regular Chaos Trials runs. But either way, let's move on and forget about it. Moving on to our standard, and a ability that I do like quite a lot, it's Spiral Rumblers. A fan, arguably, one of, I'd say, 3 standard fan abilities that could be used here. I decided to run Spiral Rumblers. Don't ask me why, I just like it. I think it's good, and it definitely fits the run modifier. Now, you could arguably also run the Wind fan, but I'm not a huge fan of that. Pun intended. Instead, I really like Spiral Rumblers. So you unleash a fan of Rumblers drilling through your enemies. And imagine every single tick of damage dealt here instantly kills everything. So that means, since these are drills, they try to drill into their target. They hit them multiple times. They literally get stuck in the target trying to drill through. This is going to have a very weird motion. So it's going to shoot at an enemy, it's gonna drill in for a brief moment, deal the damage, the enemy dies, and then it gets freed, and then it keeps flying, and then drills into the next enemy, and so on and so forth. These drills also literally go through walls, which is a very interesting fun fact, I suppose. So you can shoot them through walls like so. It's not very applicable a lot, but sometimes it is. It looks like so. You shoot out a bunch of these, a lot more than on your dash, which is definitely worth mentioning. And it has a very short cooldown, as you can tell, which is very powerful if you consider that this literally kills everything in the room you're currently in. However, as with all of these fans, you have to be able to keep some distance in between you and your enemies, but just enough distance so you can actually hit them safely from afar while they can't hit you. This is not the case for all rooms. There are plenty of rooms that lock you or that teleport you to the middle of the room when they lock you and swarm you with enemies coming from all around you. So you can only cover one direction, or maybe 2 with the 180-degree angle roughly in front of your character. Only one side, if you will, one side of the globe, and the other side is completely uncovered and vulnerable. That also means that you have to pay a lot of attention to your positioning. But you can already tell all of that just by looking at the way this ability flies. It only covers one side of the room. Clearly, right? This target dummy behind me is ignored entirely. So in order to try to maximize my damage output, I'd have to stand over here and then also have enough range so I can reach over here and hit the target dummy. Also aim this properly, so at least one Spiral Rumbler will actually fly through all the way at this target dummy. There are a lot of things you have to pay attention to, even though arguably fan abilities are incredibly simple to use and generally speaking very effective. They are essentially just shotgun blasts, right? Enough of that though. Spiral Rumblers enhancement is yet again one that isn't super important. The drills gain an explosive finale. They just simply explode when they are done drilling. Now, usually when using drills, it is very odd, very weird, trying to purposefully only hit with the final explosion of a drill. You usually just want this ability to drill through enemies, keeping them stun-locked in the process. And today is no different, because we literally kill everything right away. The explosions are going to be entirely useless, even more so than usually. Now, a neat trick is still shooting them through here and then making them explode, but that's the only use case that I can come up with on the fly and from my experience going forward. So this, again, an enhancement that you may want to ignore entirely. Just don't get it, get your dash. Instead, it's much more powerful. Let's finish things off with our signature. The OG of fans. Frost Fan. It even has fan in its name. Ain't that great? Look at it. They said the word. Oh, that's hilarious. We love it. Frost Fan. You shoot a bunch of icicles. Very similar to your dash, however. You shoot them where you are facing, not out of your asshole. Like so. And you shoot a bunch of them. Very inaccurate, as you can tell. Very inaccurate. You have to be close. And it knocks you back a fair distance. So you gotta watch out that this doesn't knock you back into a pit, for example, or into a bunch of enemies. Now, the base version knocks you only back a slight amount, but when using the signature where you shoot 3 waves of these, that knocks you back a considerable amount, which can also make your aim just entirely screwed up. Just you're aiming at these four, and you're standing in the perfect position, but due to this kind of recoil, there's just no way you're gonna hit all of these fans perfectly. Say I want to land these on a single target like so, it's just really, really hard, even if that is a boss, because bosses still receive a tiny bit of knockback, which is usually enough to knock them out of your range. So maximizing DPS output on this thing is very hard, but again, today we don't care about any of that. We just kill everything in one hit anyway, so we just simply have to hit it like so, try to keep our distance, but to a reasonable degree, so we can actually use this effectively, which is very hard. I'd say this is more mid-rangey. The rumblers I can use from very, very far away, and they will always connect, but the frost fan I have to be mid-rangey, and then finally for my dash I have to be very, very close or very far away, I'd say. And enemies shouldn't come straight at me, as fans generally don't shoot forward, or only shoot maybe one, rarely two fans, rather forward. So if an enemy is actually running straight up towards me in a 90-degree angle, friends are not going to be very effective. But we have a basic too, right? So who gives a crap anyway? Both the regular version of Frostfan as well as the signature are going to be very helpful with clearing rooms full of enemies, regardless of whether that's a room full of a boss or their ads, a mini boss or their ads, or just regular enemies. Or even chests, for that matter, or obstacles. These fans are fantastic for all the aforementioned, and you can do whatever you'd like with all of them. Quite frankly, I do like that a lot. Now, the Frost Fan does also freeze enemies, but as already mentioned with the Frost Wing, as well as the Flame Strike Enhancement, we don't care about status effects whatsoever, as even bosses cannot resist our sweet, sweet power. Let's move on to the build specifics. No, not yet, actually. I kind of forgot the most important part here, eh? The run modifier. Now, this might take a while. Let's take a good deep dive here. Sit back, relax, grab a coffee and some snacks. This might take a while. Not yet. Frostfan is one of the most feel-good abilities in this game, in my opinion. I really love it a lot, especially using it cleverly against a wall or in certain situations to stun entire rooms. Buy yourself a lot of time. It has a rather long cooldown and not the greatest of damages, but come on, damage plus freeze plus this coverage, and then it looks cool as hell. And the enhancement is also not useless. It's quite the opposite, honestly. It's very, very useful. Makes it just so much more consistent. Usually I do like dashing over, or rather through enemies anyway, not away from them. But in both cases this ability can be used. I'm just personally a huge fan of it, I must say. And then for obstacle clear, it's also not the worst by any means. It's not the best either, but it does a very, very good job at pretty much everything that is important to me, personally. Even for boss clear, like, you have a very stylish way of dashing forward into a chest, standing right in front of it, and then you dash into the chest, which will actually pop the chest, which is just so cool. Okay. Kind of have to try and remember, what does the item actually look like? It's none of those. I haven't seen it for quite some time. You might laugh at me. I assembled this build after all, and I've gone through all of these items many times all over, but I entirely forgot what it actually looks like. I have to admit. It's just so rare to see it as well. It's like the Contingency 99. Sorry, no. Rules of Contingency, it's kind of just as rare. I don't just see it a lot naturally. I see it so rarely to the point that I forgot entirely about its existence. Okay, it's definitely not in there. But much to my luck, I know the vast majority of these by heart at this point. And there it is. Chaotic Comedy. Players and enemies are defeated in one hit, respectively, draining our max HP all the way down to 1. I don't believe even shields can prevent this. It's very similar in that regard to the Pride Robe, which everybody knows is just oof, man, it's self-torture. But when we can actually kill everything in one hit as well, it's fair game. As I said, we're gonna be a glass cannon, the ultimate glass fan cannon, whatever the hell other metaphor you can come up with. Let's get into the build specifics though, shall we? Let's start things off with the intended build. Playstyle. Be careful or die. Be defensive or lose. Don't walk through traps. Don't fall into pits like an idiot or you will die. While Ella's Glass Kit does mitigate damage taken from self-affliction, like falling into pit for example, I strongly recommend you you play your cards well and you don't do any dumbassery like that. If you can't go for that chest, if you don't feel comfortable with the parkour for example, or trap room, just don't go into it. You don't need anything to win the run, you just need to hit Sora once. Every single phase, once, and you're good to go. And same, honestly, for all the other enemies that you're going to be coming across, whether it be a boss, a regular enemy, or a mini-boss. They're all the same to you. They're all one-shots. So you really want to prioritize simply dashing through a floor as quickly as possible. There are only a handful of items, as I said, that will help you survive here today. One of which you already got. Then you got all the revive items like Buck's Escape Key, the Angelic Halo, which is a cursed relic, and the Tiara, I believe it's called. No, Flower Crown, Flower Diadem, which is also very expensive. So you need a lot of Mula to afford any of these, whether it be Bucks or the Flower Diadem. Or you need very good luck regarding your Nox shops, because you could go for Angelic Halo for the revive. You could go for, let me see, I forgot the names of the other two items, but the two evasion items that grant you a huge chunk of evasion but make you take more damage, which is fine, you don't care about that. Or get rid of your crit chance respectively, which is also fine. You don't need to crit, you kill everything in one hit. You just need evasion and very, very good abilities to help you out. So until you get to that point, you have to be very cautious. You should not try to full clear under any circumstances. You should not try to go for your green or your red store. Just ignore them. Just, if you have found the exit already, exit. Go for it. Unless there are 3 skulls, maybe that's a little overwhelming at times. Like, I would do that probably stage 1 and 2, but everything past 3-1, I would not risk trying to beat a 3 skull fight. I think that's just way too much. 2 skulls even is just very, very risky. Just try to slowly creep your way through the floor to lower the requirement for skulls, and then go for the end boss, for the mini boss rather. So that's my recommendation here. You gotta be incredibly defensive and aware of what you're doing at any given time. You cannot allow yourself to screw up under any circumstances, as you can only do this a total of 5 times. Okay, that having been said, let's move on to potential problems. Literally dying in one hit might seem like a tiny issue. It's not. Trust me, it happens very quickly. You can get stun locked and just finished off. Now, when Ella's Glass Kite is entirely depleted, it only takes one singular strike going through, not being evaded, for you to die, regardless of how tiny it may be. That means summoners, mages, rangers are huge issues to you. Any kind of trap, any kind of pit could be the last for you. You have to be very, very cautious, especially with summons. But also in the Frost Dungeon, for example, with the tiny Frost Agents, I'm just gonna call them, or Frost Traps running towards you. Those things are obnoxious. You cannot afford being rooted, you cannot afford being poisoned, or shocked, or burned. All of these things kill you instantly. You just cannot do any of that. Don't let it happen. You need to take precautions regarding all of them. For example, get an item like the Hummingbird Feather, allowing you to run across pits. Get an item that says you're immune to certain status effects. Slow is easily the least effective one here against it. Effectively does nothing. But all of the damaging status effects, my god, they are hell. Literal hell. They just get you killed immediately. You cannot ever be affected by any of them. Trust me, especially poison is very, very bad news for you. It lasts very long. It's definitely gonna out-sustain at least one Ella's Glass Kite proc. So, dodge them. entirely. Don't get hit in the first place is what I'm saying here. Imagine you're playing a Pride Robe run where you can also one-shot everything. But it's still Pride Robe. You still die in one hit regardless of what hit you. So those are the potential problems, I'd say. Dungeon-wise, definitely Frost Dungeon is a bummer. Earth Dungeon is very hard. Lightning can be very hard, but I don't think it usually is, to be honest. I think Earth and Frost are your greatest issues. Fire can be a little rough if you are running more of a melee build, so I'd probably avoid that so you don't accidentally run into an ignition rush from an enemy knight, for example. That can be very annoying, or into one of those living ovens. Like, that can happen quickly too, especially on later stages. But to me, personally, it's definitely gotta be Earth, and it's definitely gotta be Frost. And then Wind occasionally, maybe. Evasion is a little annoying, but you have Rumblers, which hit multiple times, so you shouldn't be bothered too much. But I guess Wind is also an issue. Shoe can get you fucked up very, very quickly too. I'm not gonna try to roll Wind as my first dungeon here. I really, really, really don't want that. Keep in mind that while Shoe can get you screwed up immediately, so can you. You literally hit the guy once and he's dead, so you don't really have to be afraid of the bosses here, but instead you should have dire respect for the dungeons and for trying to traverse the dungeon and for having to look for the exit to leave the damn place and go straight back to hell. Oh, sorry, to the overworld, to heaven, of course, not to hell. In my opinion, my professional opinion, you should absolutely dodge the Earth dungeon. Poison, you just cannot afford being poisoned ever. There are poison traps, there are the poison flowers, for example, that get you fucked up right away. I wouldn't even say go for Earth as your first dungeon. Don't force it. Just ignore it entirely and hope and pray that you won't have to fight it at all. Because, my god, it's AIDS. And then enemies reflecting projectiles back at you, especially ones that can freeze you, or the Rumblers that get you stun locked and hit you multiple times. Oh my god. And then getting rooted. Like, poison is already very, very deadly, but being rooted in place. Is there anything that feels worse in this game than being rooted in place and literally beaten to death from 500 to 0 regardless of your build? I don't think so. I think that's very, very bad. You definitely should avoid Earth, or at least pray to whatever god you may believe in that you won't come across Earth whatsoever. Right, that was quite a long segment. Moving on to my final part here, recommended items in Arcana. As we already said, there are only a handful of items in this game entirely, in all the categories, that can save your ass here, that can actually help you out. Increased damage and crit chance and cooldown reduction are like nice, and they might occasionally be helpful, while damage and crit chance is literally useless. Cooldown reduction can at least be helpful, but I would much prefer betting on additional hitting things like Whimsical Explodium, Special Snowflake, like sprites, fairies, pixies, whatever you want to call them, stones, even though they are kind of more difficult to apply in this particular run here, as I'm going to be running a ranged setup, a projectile-based setup, not a melee setup, so I'm not going to be naturally very close to enemies, so the stones can actually proc. But anything that hits additional times for you without you having to do anything at all, and especially any of those things that hit from afar, like maybe Agent Arcana as well, or other summoner abilities, or abilities that just remain, that linger for a long period of time, are going to be your best friends. The least attention you have to pay towards the combat and actually killing things, finishing them off, the more attention you can instead pay towards remaining alive and keeping those nice LS glass kite charges sustained and all the way up there, if you feel me. So, naturally your best friend is any and everything that allows for you to do that. Anything that allows you to not have to worry so much as well. Now, here we should move to the Arcana section, which is much more important for this build. Any huge wave clear abilities with a rather short cooldown are fantastic for you. Anything with long range is fantastic for you, because then you won't even have to enter certain rooms, and oftentimes, as it is in this game, the camera doesn't show you the enemies. You walk blindly into a room, and you could be trapped. There could be enemies already inside, coming right at you while you're not being able to see them. You can only merely hear them, but only when it's delayed. Yada, yada, yada. There are just tons of things that can go wrong, and that will go wrong eventually. So having something very long range that you can just blindly shoot into a room that you can actually look into is great. You can listen, you can hear explosive barrels going off, you can hear enemies dying, and you will know afterwards whether or not that room means business, or danger rather, or not, whether it's clear, whether you can just enter it, whether it's most likely gonna lock you in, but at least there were no enemies or barrels or other dangers in sight. Additionally, which I believe is much more powerful than simply having long range abilities regardless of the damage, jumps come into play. Any jump gives you iframes for the duration that you are airborne. The second you land, you are left vulnerable. You can't really do anything for a short period of time, but while in the air, you are invulnerable. Entirely. Nothing can hit you whatsoever. Which is very, very powerful. That means you can dash, or jump rather, through the entirety of certain boss attacks, for example. Even though, again, bosses are not really an issue here. I'm just talking symbolically, right? What's the most powerful thing in this game, like long-lasting attacks? It's obviously a boss. But so can you through a mini-boss ranger attack, for example, or a regular ranger attack, or like a mage's fan of chaos balls coming your way. You can just jump through them, entirely ignore them. As your projectile destruction abilities might be off cooldown, you might not have a fan right now, just jump right through, or dodge them entirely. Likewise, there are certain abilities that keep projectiles away from you, like a Vortex Veil, for example, which is very, very powerful. There's Evading Zephyr, incredibly helpful, while walking, and this buff is active, which is a rather short duration buff, but nonetheless, you evade all attacks hitting you, regardless of what's hitting you. The enhancement also speeds you up, allows you to walk across pits, like the Hummingbird Feather Relic, which is very, 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 very helpful. I cannot state how incredibly important this Arcana is. If you can come across it, if you are so lucky enough, you should absolutely invest into it. Always leave some spare money for better abilities or more supportive abilities that actually help you survive. This is pretty much the only ability in the game that can do that, including all relics. It's guaranteed 100% evasion, even if its duration is only a handful of seconds. Regardless, you can potentially ignore an entire, again this is a comparison, an entire attack phase of Sura, for example, with that ability. It's crazy good. Additionally, Permafrost Bulwark, which I always remember, which I always mention, is fantastic here. You can encase yourself in a block of ice, leaving you invulnerable. Again, you can't even be targeted by anything whatsoever. Everything just flies right past you, past the ice block as well. It doesn't get shattered or anything, just flies right past, ignores everything. You essentially become a background object. And then you can break free from that block of ice whenever you want, dealing a hefty chunk of damage in the process around you, literally killing everything in one hit, as we already know. And any other ability that works in a similar fashion, that leaves a trap on the ground, for example, or has a very long range, or grants you iframes, or cooldown reduction, movement speed, evasion, yada yada yada, is gonna be your best friend. You probably know and love the vast majority of these abilities, as there's not that many in the game that do that, but generally speaking, you can run pretty much anything you want in this build, as you literally kill everything in one hit. As long as you feel comfortable with the respective ability / item, honestly, go for it. I would highly recommend you don't pick up something like a Sonic Breaker if you don't feel comfortable with it, because you're gonna screw up, and screwing up in this run means instantaneous death. Instantaneous defeat, rather. Not just death, but instant defeat. I believe that was more than enough rambling for 2 videos, honestly, considering that this run might only take about 5 minutes until we're back in here in the lobby. Unsuccessful, obviously, defeated. So I'd say let's get things started. If I actually happen to screw up at any point, I'm of course gonna retry. So do I want to dodge someone? Atlas, we already said, is going to be an absolute nightmare. That's also kind of the reason I don't want to tackle him first. We'll just go for it. We will try and see, of course. Oh my god. We get Zeal, Thunder Twins, and Atlas. That's very, very rough. Okay. Now, my basic can actually attack through statues, which is neat. So can the Rumblers, but the basic is a little more reliable. One of them is still alive, which you can tell by... Oh, binary spike. That's a jump. Very good. Which you can tell by the shadowy ops still being alive. The second these guys die, all of their summons vanish immediately. Now, I did initially feel like speeding up enemies for this run, but I'm no longer behind that idea. I'm just not practiced enough to do so. I'm generally not a big fan of speeding everything up right at the beginning of your run. It just kind of makes the bosses very unfun. Of course, again, bosses are not an issue here today, but regardless, I don't like speeding things up. It's just not very entertaining to me personally. If you love it, go for it. I personally don't really like it. Also, it means there will be more elemental enemies, if I'm not mistaken, which for certain builds can be very, very annoying. Not fun, not challenging, simply very annoying. Okay, well, Idealist is just a full heal, not a revive. Water Color could be very helpful. That's potentially 100% cooldown reset per ability use, which is great. I like that. Okay, keep it down. Almost made a controller slip up there, not gonna lie. Work around corners. That's a very tough room. Can easily get you killed. We could look for red, but I think it's gonna be down there. Now let's take a look. It might be worth it. At least the rogues are not gonna teleport. Where is he? The rogues cannot teleport when I literally kill them right away. Okay, none of these are very useful at all. So I'd say let's just move right on. Alright, cool. Demis that could be very well combined with an Evading Zephyr. Would be very, very, very strong. Increased duration on that ability. Whether it be Evading Zephyr, Lightning Aspect, Field Berserk, whatnot. It's just so freaking busted. It's just so overpowered. All the buffs are just so freaking busted. Gotta keep in mind at any given time that these slimes will rapidly increase in power level from stage to stage because they will split. Don't you just love splitting slimes? Yeah, I don't either, because you have to hit multiple times to finish off these smaller slimes. If you just do one large hit, chances are you will be killed by smaller slimes, which is obviously a risk that we cannot take. Oh yeah, the double ice fan. Nobody's ever prepared for that. Okay, let's start down here. Because usually the enemies start down here and then up here. So I want to be as far away from them. As far... What did I just say? I want to be as far away from them as humanly possible, while also being able to, most likely, hit all of them with one single use of my rumblers. Get a good spread on that. Alright, that's my green. Box escape key, absolutely, that's a freebie. Do I want to keep looking for red? That's my pink. I don't think I want to keep looking for red, I think I'll just move on. The fact that I'm already done with the run for roughly a third is kind of concerning, but that's just how your runs are gonna go when you literally kill everything in one hit. The advantage is that you will have a very clear and concise indicator on how many enemies you've killed over the course of your dungeon experience. Firewall, that's gonna be very handy when destroying projectiles. See, spell damage is 1. Enemies defeated is 1. It shows 25 for some reason. I don't know. I did record that earlier. It's a very weird bug, especially on the Sura stage. We might get to see that today as well. You will have to pay attention to that though, as I don't really acknowledge these kind of things, usually. Oh yeah, rumblers are very helpful. They kill all of these small ads as well. Oh no, I didn't mean to proc the room. Oh, I don't want the glove, thank you. Rumblers is just so freaking good. Multi-hit Arcana are way better than single-hit Arcana. Frost Fan, therefore, is simply inferior. Our Firewall does destroy all projectiles that hit it, which is fantastic, so we can use it very defensively, just jam an entire corridor, so nobody can walk right through it, they will die immediately. Same for projectiles, honestly, we can just put it somewhere and nothing can get through. No enemy, physically, no any projectiles. Alright, I'll grab it, just so it's out of the pool. Anything beside that? Well, I haven't found the exit yet, so let's head another way. Oh well, that didn't go over so well. Seems like another dead end potential. That is not a projectile, so we have to actually dodge it. Put the flame wall right here, so all the enemies spawning here will die immediately. Knowledge is power, my friend, especially when you can literally kill everything in one hit. Now, I do have 1 revive as well as 5 free hits, so I can be a lot more loose than I otherwise would. I think I could also try the takeout box just for funsies. Not sure that's actually going to do anything whatsoever. But I just want to know whether I can even accumulate a shield or not. I could make myself have a much harder time with the flashy boots, but instead I'll just go for double toil, doubling my cooldown reduction, or rather, in other words, halving my cooldowns for the steep cost of, well, receiving double damage. Oh my, that's a shield. Come here. There you go, good boy. Kill the boss. Okay. Cooldown reduction on movement abilities, that's gonna be very, very handy. Well, I already got this, so let's just move on. Let's get hit here intentionally. Alright, Ella's Glass Kite is procced. So the shield gets ignored entirely. That's interesting. Just as I suspected, it works very similar to the Pride Robe. Except the Pride Robe wouldn't even allow me to accumulate a shield in the first place. Now, Firewall is one of the many abilities that I can just put down. It's a stationary ability at the beginning of a stage to finish off an enemy that I know the spawn location of, for example mini boss, which is clearly indicated, and they will die. It's just very low effort, very, very powerful. But hey, I never said that this build would be incredibly busted and overpowered. I'm not exactly veiling here that I'm just trying to have an easy time. Of course I could try and make this challenging, but I think this is a much more beginner-friendly version of chaotic comedy builds, which is also neat for other purposes. For example, if you are very short on gems, but you already have access to this, go for it! Oh, that was kind of close. Hit him around the corner there. Okay, we find extra evasion, which is neat. Love to take that. How the fuck do you pronounce that? I have no clue. However, this would be very useless as it can never proc, I'm pretty sure. How would it proc in the first place, right? I can take damage below 1 HP, so it can never actually activate. Now we could try and do this fight genuinely, but I still believe they don't have the slightest bit of a chance. Let's just jump instead, how about that? Come here, cowboy. It's so easy. I'm just not a big fan of this at all. It's too easy for me. Clearly, I mean, what could be more easy than literally giving everything just 1 HP? Just 1. Sneeze on them and they will die. I don't really like that. Oh, okay. You know, if as compensation, for example, you made half of the enemies in the game have projectiles and be a lot faster automatically, that's cool. But the way things are, it's just a little too easy. I should probably step up the difficulty. You know, maybe I'll just finish this run and start another immediately after. Gotta be very, very aware of those barrels. Not accidentally hit any of them because they will chain react. And it will come and bite you back in the ass. Just cover every corner of the arena and you should be fine, honestly. Don't care about any of that. Yeah, I think I'll just finish and start another run, eh? This run has been quite a bit short. Although I've already stretched it a little bit. Like, you really don't need anything at all to win the game. If your skill level is high enough, you will be absolutely golden with nothing but this crap. Now, the only thing that can realistically get you killed is yourself by failing to dodge pits properly, like I just did there. Or being very greedy, leaving open the map while running around rooms. That kind of stupid beginner mistake, but we on this channel, we don't really make those kind of mistakes, do we? More evasion. Cool, we actually found pretty much all the evasion items, except the sandy shoes, and then the Evading Zephyr. Oh well. Let's move on. Quickly finish everything, and then we speed things up if we still get enough time. Alright, Atlas, back. I'm kind of surprised you didn't try to dash through the wall there right away. It's a bunch of gems though. Just fan in all the directions. Alright, let's finish. Ah, we could loop as well. Of course, that works. Let's loop. Everything's gonna be a lot faster that way. That works too. That way we won't have to actually look for this item again. Let's just do one loop and we should be good to go. Now, I might actually end up dying an embarrassing death here, as I haven't looped for years at this point. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't like looping in this game. I don't like looping, period. Just don't do it. Okay, don't block the room. Just walk right past. I'm not sure that's a trap room, but I wouldn't wanna... Okay, I wouldn't wanna know either way. Let's block it. Okay, nothing. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. It's a fire trap that I can hear over there. Which I absolutely hate. Thank you. Let's try and avoid that in any cast. No more evasion in here. Put a stone for extra damage. Let me just drop all this garbage that we won't need. Cool. I don't think this will lead anywhere. I think this is a dead end pretty clearly, so we might actually have to navigate through the trap room. Oh boy. Be careful around the barrels, man. Maybe not. Oh, that felt very satisfying, and that sounded fantastic as well. Hello. Money. Could have easily screwed up there, but I didn't, luckily. I have pretty much explored the vast majority of this stage, so I will try and find Red Room. Thank you, Thunderstone. And we did end up finding it. But no key in here, so we will still have to manually walk across the stage. Yikes. How many charges? We get 3 charges and the Bugs Escape Key Revive left for now, as well as the evasion additionally as a backup plan. Bosses mean nothing to us. You should know all that by now, game. More gems, sure. I don't know what for I'd be using them, but thank you, I suppose. And I'm quite nervous here for no reason at all. I just haven't looked for so freaking long. Oh yeah! Feels good, man. Go in the corner. Work around the corners, and you should never be in trouble. Really don't need that much money, so I'm just gonna try and avoid all of those kind of rooms that trap you inside. There's another one, of course. Come on, you guys. So, oh my god. So annoying, you guys. Why are you doing this to me? Just let me trespass. Very annoying wave-based room, but Firewall should be taking care of this room fairly easily. Those projectiles are a pain in the ass to deal with. They move very slowly, and it takes a long-ass time to destroy them. So I'd much prefer just jumping across them entirely. Since I can, you know? It's great. Just jump instead, forehead. Somebody's still alive. I can smell you, you little bugger. Just shoot into that room because I can't really be bothered taking a second look. Grab the item that can actually block projectiles, and then also we can grab a sprite for extra damage. Spell Thief sucks. I don't think I really care for. Now, where's my red? Is it over here? It is. Robe upgrade! For extra evasion, which is neat. So how much do we got? 15 plus 15. Where's it? Right here. Oh, wow. 75% evasion chance? That's crazy. That's pretty darn good. Let's speed things up here. There's no need to be huddling around in here any longer. I don't need your money, but I'll take it either way. Firewall is already pretty good, and so is Splashdown. I can definitely see myself keeping these for the remainder of the run and just breezing through. I don't think I care, sorry. Quite frankly, I just do not give a fuck. Oh, yeah, teleport to Red Shop seems helpful. And there's the exit. You're not sweet. Damn, that was fast. That Slimer felt unreal. I kind of felt for a second that the, as if the game had actually crashed. Hello, and goodbye. Hello, and goodbye. Let's head the other way. My intuition tells me to go down, but right might also be the correct choice here. Oh, firewall, my beloved. And it indeed was the correct choice. Yeah, you keep drilling through that sweet, sweet firewall. I am still technically unscathed. You guys are not doing a very good job at holding me back from whatever secrets and valuables you get. I can just breeze right through. It's quite laughable, honestly, if you think about it. It's like I am the Avatar, except I can literally kill everything with the touch of a finger. Kind of like King Midas, I suppose. But he didn't intentionally kill people. It was a curse. Treason. Stop it. Oh, there we go. That's the exit. The double fan always gets him. Get ready, Pinata. Oops. Didn't even mean to kill you, to be honest. Thank you. Oh, wait, is that... No, that's not the exit. No, it's not. You're not gonna trap me? Really? It's kind of pathetic, to be honest. I'll just walk right past all of you. Thank you. Oh, you're gonna trap me. Thanks for showing me your spawn locations. Very handy. Oh, dumb mistake there, because I misplaced the wall. Come here, everybody. Damn. That room layout I haven't seen for years. I'm gonna be honest, I entirely forgot about it. 2 more stones, sure, why not? Still haven't found the exit. Oh, is it up here? No, why did I proc that room again? I hate when I'm being a dumbass. Wait, what? Sprites overpowered? Stones overpowered? Literally killing everything in one hit? Crazy, dude. Ain't got no time for that. But money ain't none of my business. I don't care. I'm just here for the show. Do I have one sprite right now? Didn't I have multiple? Apparently not. Alright, Sora. Now we can't tackle phase 3 because it eradicates all of your run modifiers. Which is a little unfortunate. I would love that, at least as an unlock after having beaten him. But nope, it just doesn't work that way. Come on, you guys. Still have one charge left. Gotta make sure to use it well. Yeehaw! Oh no, he's gonna die. Never mind, he dies to the wall. I can do nothing about it, I'm just too mighty. Everything I touch turns to gold. And then to ashes. I'm like King Midas. I'm so unbearably lonely. I just can't help it. This is one of the weirdest builds that I've ever seen. There's just no damage in here whatsoever. It's all just weird defensive items that you would only exclusively find in a chaotic comedy run. So weird. Still got one Ella's Glass Kite charge, and then the Bucks Escape key as well. Bye bye, you guys. Surely ain't nobody gonna kill me now, right? None of you? None of you's gonna like drop a bomb on me or something? No? Yeah. Come on, this is your chance. Do it. Do it. Come on, do it. Asshole. Wherever you are, I will find you. And I will make you kill me. Salvation. That's the key phrase. GG. Fun run. Not, it was a little underwhelming, I'm gonna be honest, but what would you expect, right? This is exactly what I expected previously. Thank you very much for watching. Either way, hope you had a good time at least, or that I could make it somewhat entertaining. You can go try this out for yourself if you haven't done so yet. This is about the most overpowered thing that you can actually do in this game. It's quite ridiculous, to be honest, and a massive gem and gold farm, as you can tell. Look at that, I got 900 each, and I didn't even try hard. Like, if you are still very new to the game, you could probably run as your starter relic the Banker's Token, and just force him to appear on every stage, then collect a shit ton of gems over the course of one run. Whether you loop or not is up to you, and then a bunch of gold, trade all of that at the final bank shop, and you should be good to go, sitting comfortably at like 400, 500 plus gems. That's just my guess, though. That's just a theory, a game theory. Regardless, thank you very much, hope you had a good time, and until next time, you know how it is, you know how it goes. I wish you all a good morning, a good day, or a good night, wherever you are. And until next time, bye bye.